You say we need to stop Brexit. How do we do that?
Well, as it becomes clear that the terms on which the Prime Minister intends to leave the European Union, wrenching us out of the customs union and the single market, as it becomes clear that those terms are very disadvantageous to ordinary working Brits, I think it's going to become increasingly resented, Brexit, and the demand for a referendum on the final terms, so not on the principle of Brexit, which we had 18 months ago, but on the actual terms, I think that's going to become strong. Now, my party, the Labour Party, I'm rather hoping that Jeremy Corbyn will move in the direction of a referendum on the final terms, because it's going to become increasingly difficult for him to stand shoulder to shoulder with Theresa May when the living standards of ordinary hard-working Brits are being trashed.
So how do you think this referendum should be framed? What should the question be? What should the options be? How should we have this referendum?
It should be a very simple question. Do you accept the terms which Theresa May, or whoever is Prime Minister in a year's time, because things may change, do you accept those terms for leaving the European Union, or would you prefer the status quo? My
issue with that is I don't think that's feasible. Not because we shouldn't have a referendum, but a simple yes or no answer will put us in the exact same position we were in after the last referendum. Because I think there should be 4 options. It should be yes, I like the deal. It should be no, I don't like the deal, and therefore we should go back and renegotiate a new deal. It should be no, I don't like the deal, so we should stay. And it should be no, I don't like the deal, we should walk away without a deal. We'll be in the exact same position we were in last time, where one of the options for that referendum is completely open to interpretation.
Well, at the last referendum, you had a choice between starting the process of leaving the European Union or not. There was a straight binary choice.
And the criticism has been that binary choice was able to be interpreted in multiple different ways by many people. That's
yes.
the criticism that has come out of the referendum, was it was poorly framed. The Leave vote could mean 15 different things to different types of voters. Surely this second referendum would be exactly the same. Are we not learning from our mistakes?
Well, I don't accept that, because of the 4 options that you said were theoretically possible, 2 of them I don't think really exist. The idea that a government which has conducted over the course of the previous 2 years a negotiation leading to a treaty could somehow go back and completely change tack in those negotiations, I don't think is credible. Theresa May would have no credibility at all if she tried to negotiate a different treaty from the one she previously negotiated. Equally, leaving without a deal, almost everybody accepts that that would be a totally unfeasible proposition. For example, no planes would fly if we left without a deal. The basic functioning of the economy couldn't take place with that. So I think there are 2 essential choices. There's going to be the exit terms which Theresa May negotiates as against the status quo, and that's a realistic choice to put before people.
In September, after the general election, in which Labour did significantly better than anyone thought, you were quite open in saying that you think Corbyn should go for not winning it. You posted on Twitter. A very, very clear message came out from you, is that you do not think he should be Labour leader. Do you still think that?
Well, let's just say, as the government gets worse and worse, I think the Labour alternative looks stronger and stronger, because, you know, politics...
So is that what it is? Jeremy Corbyn is better than the next worst alternative?
Jeremy looks very good compared to this very unimpressive government that we have at the moment, and including about half of the ministers who, let's be clear, wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Brexit. You know, there were a whole lot of ministers, many of whom were sacked years ago, who were brought back just because they're Brexiteers and opposed to the European Union. And the big thing about Labour is whatever you think of Jeremy and some of his colleagues, they are not mad on Brexit. They're perfectly sane and sensible on our European commitments. And to my mind, because that's the single most important issue the country faces, that goes a long way.
So you touched upon some of these Brexiteers being thrown back into the cabinet. There's talk in Westminster of a potential reshuffle. We don't know the ins and outs as of yet. Is there anyone that you think should be on their way out?
Well, I don't think that there are many people who think that the Foreign Secretary has done a brilliant job of representing the country abroad. As for the state of our Brexit negotiations, and there are 2 ministers responsible for those, they haven't been going very well either. And my good friend Chris Grayling hasn't been doing a fantastic job at transport. So if you wanted me to give you a list of those who haven't been performing well, it's quite a long list. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think we're going to put this right until we fundamentally change tack as a country, because there's no point having one lot of ministers replacing another lot of ministers if the policy stays the same. And the 2 big problems that we face in policy terms at the moment are that we're committed to a hard Brexit, wrenching Britain out of the core economic institutions of the European Union, the single market and the customs union, and we are not tackling with anything like sufficient vigour and passion the big social problems at home, the problems of education, health, housing, inequality, unemployment. And until we start getting that policy mix right, I don't think that the individual names outside the doors of Whitehall ministries is going to make a huge amount of difference.